Sheila Seppi, and you're watching us on the Conscious Awakening Network. So here's my little commercial. If you have not already signed up to be on our mailing list, please do so. You can go to consciousawakeningnetwork.org, or you can catch the replays, or you can even watch it live right now on the Roku channel or your favorite downloadable podcast location, such as Spotify, Google, Android tomorrow. Now, you also can find us on some of our television platforms, Roku, Amazon, Apple TV, Android, but you need to download that free phone app, and you can download the free app through any of the television stations or anything. So, I am super, super excited because our guest tonight is Maria Martinez, and my co-host is Alan Steinfeld. Now, even though Alan really doesn't need any introduction, I want to tell you just a little bit about Alan because I am so grateful to Alan. He actually, heard about me being a walk-in and introduced me to some people. So I'll forever be grateful to Alan. But also, Alan's been blazing the trail for all of us podcasters or anyone in the consciousness field because, Alan himself is a visionary. He's a thought leader. He's a pioneer in the exploration of human potential and consciousness. And literally over the last 3 decades has been blazing the trail for us because Alan was really interviewing people about conscious expansion before really conscious expansion was popular. And so, Alan, you have really been quite the trailblazer for us. And I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. So, welcome to Cosmic Conversations.
Great to blaze some trails with you, Sheila. So let's doing it. Let's just have those conversations cosmically. And I'm really happy you invited me to co-host this month. I know last week was a great guest. I happened to be at a UFO gathering, but Marilyn and Zazar, fantastic. And tonight we have another fantastic guest. You have more to say? Should I introduce her?
Yeah, go ahead and introduce her.
Hey, Maria Martinez is a DNA activator, wealth consciousness advocate, human potential active, multidimensional healer. But I have to say, she has a natural talent to tune into other dimensions and help people with those other dimensions. She's contacted with or connected with many guides, many extraterrestrial races. I think particularly Arcturian. She it can bridge those worlds and help other people bridge those worlds. So I thought she would be a great person for Cosmic Conversation. Sheila, welcome, Maria. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And it's such an honor to be here with both of you in this beautiful community as well. Such a pleasure.
A great community. But, Sheila had a good idea. Why don't we start with DNA activator? What does that mean? And then how does that branch into ET, conscious evolution, new realities, where we're going at this time in history, all that? Why don't you just go for it, Maria?
Okay. Can I share a little bit about how I started? That
Please.
brings me into this space.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah,
So
please.
I I came in awake. I've been doing this work since I was 5, 6. I remember working with my guides and my angels as my initial mentors throughout this, you know, throughout my early years in life. And I remember doing a lot of astral travel to other times, other dimension, and especially working with spirits. So my earlier work was really about retrieving spirits that have been lost or bringing back parts of spirits that were stranded in other times or in other places, whether it was because they forgot where they were from, needed to be, or because there was some kind of deception or manipulation. So that was my very early work. And really, they were guiding me. I really wasn't aware of what I was doing, but I do remember specifically the processes that they were guiding me to do, and the amazing places that they took me in my early years. And that work from the spirit started to move to the physical world, meaning that I started working with people and doing the same type of work initially, working with spirit, restoring, retrieving their soul particles, and also freeing them. So this became part of the foundation of freedom and empowerment, meaning that a lot of the people that I work with weren't aware that they had entity attachments, that they had DNA manipulation, that had implants in their field, and therefore couldn't really express their full potential. Hence, moving into the human potential work. Um, and so that became part of my work. And sometimes it was very heavy and very dark. So throughout this time, I started to really be aware of what my mission was here when every day, constantly, I was working with different people across different worlds, across different dimensions. And then about the age of 12, I started begin to have visitors. I remember one day just laying down having an unusual headache. And later I found that it was similar to a migraine headache, where I was laying down and I closed my eyes and I started seeing different codes and different symbols, which were, some people would describe as the aura of the migraine headache. But for me, there were codes and symbols, and it was very intriguing and very interesting. So I kind of let it play out, and then I opened my eyes and I continued to see these codes and these symbols, and then it was sort of like an opening of a dimension where I was still in my body, but I was looking through this sort of auric field or window, um, and I saw other beings. So that was my first sort of contact with other beings of light, celestial beings. At that time, later I found out that they were Pleiadians. So my early contact was with the Pleiadians. And I still wasn't aware of what my purpose was with them, but as I continue in just get through life, try to understand who I was in the world, and continue to allow them to guide me, they started coming in more and more. And especially when I started working with people at different levels. So one of the things that my guides showed me to do was to look at somebody at a multidimensional level. And Sheila, you described this in one of your talks, having them expand their bodies, their multidimensional bodies, and look at each body individually to see what was held in the body, where certain discrepancy was. And the goal was to help them restore their divine blueprint. Their divine blueprint is pure perfection, is the pure, perfect DNA. And in that process, that's when they started to guide me to go deeper into the DNA. And when I started working with the DNA, the first time that the DNA presented itself, it looked like a regular double helix. And the way it would present itself to me was if there was a code that was broken, that was reversed, that didn't belong, it would light up in different colors. Um, Usually it would like flicker either in a brown or a black, like a light bulb being out. So I would just direct my attention to that area, and then the repairing of the code was either a number, a color, a frequency, or a symbol. And it was different. It's always been different for different people. It also depends on who else shows up. So if other beings of light show up, then they bring either light language or other colors or symbols. So that's how my work really evolved into DNA activation and human potential activation and wealth consciousness. So as this progressed, and my goal was to help people step into their freedom, step into their empowerment, to gain mastery of their lives, was also to manifest the life and reality that they wanted to live in this lifetime. And that's where the wealth consciousness started to come in and become a big factor in the freedom and the empowerment and the authority and our abilities to manifest wealth, abundance, prosperity, and health in our lives. And again, my work continued to evolve to empowerment and living into the space of I am. And more beings continue to come in. And recently, a group of beings came in, I would say probably a couple of years ago. They call themselves the architects. And they are the architects. So the way they describe themselves, they say we're the architects behind the scenes. We are the ones that hold, the connection of the web of life, in the galaxies. We hold that space in between where we connect the galaxy together. We are that architect, and our responsibility is to hold that space of balance so that humanity so that other light beings can continue to evolve. Uh, so when I'm working with somebody that has connection to Arcturians or Lyrians or Syrians, uh, and has had some manipulation in their DNA, they often come in as the architect to restore the blueprint. So either they, come in and sort of create the chamber, the healing chamber, and come in and work with the individual, or they guide me in terms of what is the next step, whether it's um, reversal of the DNA or removal of an old code, um, or something that has been implanted into the DNA for that individual. Yes.
Yeah, I just have to ask this question. With all of these people that you are working with now, are you finding within DNA that there is some type of commonality? Is there something that's being awakened in your clients that you could say, I'm seeing this in all of my clients?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And actually, there were a couple factors. Initially, when I started working with people in the DNA, I saw a lot of reptilian DNA, Anunnaki DNA, draconian serpent DNA. So that's what was being released and removed. And what was restored was the DNA of some of the light beings, which were the Icturians, the Pleiadians, the Syrians, the Lyrians, some of that DNA, because the people that I was working with had a connection to them and had been distorted at some point in their many lifetimes and evolutions. So oftentimes, and especially if they come in, I know that there's a connection. I know that they're going to work with that part of the DNA, that DNA connected to that lineage, to that being of light that is present, that is there to help that individual.
Okay, well, that makes total sense. And then so that's the multidimensionality that you're working with. So when you're working with people, you also mentioned like I think you said wealth consciousness. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that shows up for people?
Yes, absolutely. So wealth consciousness, a lot of the times, first of all, shows up as a separation. So it shows us a separation from the divine. So when there's a separation, there's a frequency of unworthiness and undeservingness. And that separation from their true authentic self creates the hard work, the suffering, survival energy, the efforting, the not feeling enough. So we
Hmm.
work with that separation and come back to the oneness of that individual. And a lot of it, a lot of times that has to do with opening up a lot of lifetimes, the ones that are directly connected to that separation and that old trauma, and healing them or resetting the timeline. So going back to that root cause of that event and choosing something different. Because a lot of times, we are divine perfection. We're divine beings. We're having a human experience. And in that human experience, we chose to have an experience. And that experience could be to be taught how to forgive, to be taught how to be enough. So we go back and we find that decision in time, in the timeline. And sometimes that's many, many, many timelines. A lot of times when we're doing this work, it looks like many, many roads until we get to one road before it started converging into many, or before it started separating into many. And then we reset that core event so they can choose something different. So what happens is that they go back and they say, "Oh, I remember that I chose this. I remember that I decided to
Hmm.
experience the suffering. Now I don't have to suffer because I already know what it is." So when we
Right.
go back and they choose wealth, they choose prosperity, they choose abundance, then all of that seems to all the timelines collapse into their original timeline, which is more ease, more flow, their ability to manifest increases, wealth, money, things that they've lost in the past start coming back in many different ways, whether it's a promotion, whether it's a winning, whether it's more clients coming in. But the wealth, we have all our divine fortune. That as we go through time and through the separation, we disconnect from that, and we were taught to believe that we had to earn it, that we had to work hard for it. So when we go back to that original choice that we made, then there is no need to go through that struggle and everything starts to align. So we start creating flow. So that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is frequency. So it's wealth consciousness, being the consciousness of wealth, being in the consciousness of abundance, being in the consciousness of prosperity. So embodying the frequency of that, which means again that we trust, that we believe in our divine partnership, that we believe in that everything is energy and that we are the resonance of that energy. So there are a couple different aspects to that wealth consciousness.
Mhm.
Um, what I really enjoy about the work that I do, the empowerment work, because it starts with the freedom. Now I'm free to choose whatever I want. Then it's the human potential. Now I can access my divine gifts. I can work with my divine team. I can reset who I am and unlock my potential and my DNA. And then I can manifest my gifts and create a life that I love living. And the way I express myself or create authenticity or serve.
Yeah. So when you're performing these sessions with people and you're working within their field, are you doing this energetically? Do you have tools that you're using? What kind of, like techniques or methods are you using to help unlock this potential?
Mhm. Yes. So when I work with people, everything is really remote. I mean, I can work with anybody in person, but
Sure.
remote just works just as great or even better sometimes because they don't get in their own way. Um, so when I work with people, it's energetically, so it's alchemy. We're looking at the energy that they're holding that is creating a block in their field. So we expand the multidimensional selves. We look at the multidimensional selves. We look at the auric field. We look at the chakras. We look at the energies that they're holding, like the energy of money, the energy of prosperity, the energy of abundance, and how in the story that they've created, how they relate, whether it's from this lifetime or other lifetimes. So
Hmm.
we begin to sort of sort everything out, and we begin to move things out that are disruption, that are unworthiness, undeservingness, that are poverty contracts, that are poverty consciousness. So we begin to pull everything out. It's almost like cleaning house. When we look at what's there and we're like, oh, well, this doesn't serve as less. Less is more, so that there's more space for us to have, more abundance, to hold more abundance and prosperity. Um, in the process, I use different things that usually come in, whether it's light language, whether it's doing going back in time, so regression, um, whether it's working again with the DNA and activate the DNA of abundance in their field. So it's different things, and everything is customized. So it depends. I'm usually just allow the process to be when I'm working with an individual or when I'm working with a group, as I'm tuning into the energy, whether it's the individual energy or the group energy, being guided by the guides, the collective team of what they need in that moment to create that significant shift in their life that is going to allow them to hold the frequency and be in the vibration that is going to allow them to attract and manifest what they desire, whether it's to unlock more of their gifts, or manifest more money, or even manifest a loved one.
Wow. Now, do you think that these are contracts that people are bringing in, or are they like coming into clear ancestral lineage? Or is it both, or is it the same?
I would say, especially with my clients, what I've noticed is both. It's either one or the other or both.
Mm.
That they have contracts, uh, whether they're like the ones that decided I am the one that's going to undo all of this for the rest of my generations forward and back, uh, or it's for their own, for their own karma that they brought into this lifetime, that at this point they're deciding I'm done with that karma. I'm no longer going to hold that karma for myself. So it's a little bit of both. But I feel like more and more people are coming in ready to live their life fully. I see and I feel, and the people that I work with, they're so ready to embody their potential, to embody their wealth, everything that's available to them, everything that the universe has to offer. And they're so much more intentional and committed to create the life that has flow and fulfillment, um, and also contribution to the world.
Well, that's awesome. And so now the people that you're working with the wealth consciousness, do you find that there's like a common misconception about that?
about wealth consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
I would say not so much. Maybe years ago, there was more of a lot of stories. I would say there were more stories. I think we're more aware that we create our reality, that we're the masters of our destiny, that we're the master builder. I would say that years ago, there was more of, I don't know where that came from, or wasn't aware that I was holding that, or I wasn't aware that that was in my field, or I wasn't aware that that was my way of thinking, my mental models or mental paradigms. But I think more and more people are aware. And I think a lot, especially the people that I work with, that they can a lot of times sense there's something that I can't put my finger on, but this is the way it's manifesting. Either um, clients are not showing up, or something just happened where my money was directed somewhere else. So they can sense and they can feel I'm not in my flow. I'm not in the ease of having and receiving. I'm not able to build my wealth. So they can sense that something is there, even if they can't pinpoint at the time if it's ancestral or if it's from their lifetimes or if it's something else like a curse or an entity or what they accepted coming into this lifetime poverty consciousness.
Got it. Got it. Now, I want to circle back to something else that you said earlier. You were talking about, the architects. And, in some of the Hopi teachings, they also talk about the architects in like the Hopi 20 count that they say came in from the Pleiades. And so I wonder if we're, still talking about those same, magical weavers.
Yes, it feels actually very true. It feels very connected. Um, what's really interesting about them is that they are not like just a new being that just kind of,
Right.
was born. They're very ancient. And they're very sort of hands off, meaning that they don't, at least that's the way they've been working with me. They don't come in right away and then try to do, they're like, here we are. We're kind of standing in the background. And this is what we're doing. We're holding the space so that the blueprint is held so that this individual can move forward. So they're not coming in and enforcing their will. Obviously, none of the other beings do that. But what I've noticed about them is that they usually kind of just hold back and hold space. And through that holding the space, I can really see their energy and what they're here to do and
Oh,
how they sort of it's really beautiful and it's really interesting the way their sort of magic happens when they come in because it's like a flow of energy that moves that is very easy that it's almost like a gentle washing that happens and in that movement of that energy what they're bringing then becomes and I can see where in the DNA it's being activated or I can see where in the web it's being held so it's very interesting. So when I work with the Arcturians or when I work with the Pleiadians or any of the other galactic beings, they come in right away, or the archangels, especially Archangel Michael. A lot of times they just come in and stand behind me, and they're very active, meaning that I can hear them. They're very talkative. They're directing, even if they're just there to hold space. There's a lot of conversation going where these architects they kind of hold back and I'm like, oh, they're right there. They're subtly coming in they are working with us, holding space, uh, holding the field. It almost feels like they come in and they raise the vibration for that next level. And so it's very beautiful. And then when they're done, whereas at least when I work with the other beings of light, the galactic beings, Arcturians, Pleiadians, they'll say, okay, we're done with this and we're done. So they kind of announce that they're done and they're leaving.
yeah.
So it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, are you finding that the Arcturian, we'll just talk about them for a moment. Do you find that the Arcturians come in for specific healing in a specific area, or are they there generically to help? Or, I know you said they stand behind you, but do they have a specific role that they take on?
Yes, yes. So when they show up, they're always there to, um, I guess, contribute. Um, the Arcturians, as compared to the Pleiadians, when they work with me, the Pleiadians come in and they hold this energy of healing, and I've experienced that with the angels as well. This energy of healing that and especially in the physical healing. where the Acturians work a lot with the mind construct, with the mind belief systems, with the programming of the mind, which is also the programming of the DNA, which is also the programming of the cellular level. So that's what I've noticed in terms of the difference when they come in. And if they come in, anything that comes in with when I'm working with somebody, they're there for a purpose. They're not just hanging out. They're either activating something, they're helping to clear something, they're helping to upgrade the individual's vibration, or they're bringing in an activation for the individual that I'm working with or the group that I'm working with.
Oh, cool. Now, also earlier, I think you mentioned quantum energy activist or alchemist. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Is that a different component of your work?
It's not a different component, but it is. So when we work with energy, the energy has it's the energy has an essence. And I'm sure everybody here knows that there's a frequency to the energy when it, and especially connected to an emotion. So if it's a low emotion, it has a lower density. And when we go higher, especially to joy and to peace, it's a higher vibration. So the alchemy is getting to the root. So it's so when I find, sort of like as an example, anger, regret, shame, guilt, it holds the density, and that energy can impact the physical body. It can impact the emotional body, it can impact all the bodies, the spirit, the soul,
Mhm.
all of them. And it also create separation. So the alchemy, it's the transmutation of that into light, especially if there's trauma. So a lot of
Mm.
times when we hold trauma or we hold something that was very difficult for us and it's hard for us to let it go, it's like a illness that is happening within a field that is spreading. So the alchemy is with love, with compassion, with complete and total self-acceptance,
Mm.
to embrace that what is, which oftentimes we consider our darkness, or we consider our shadow, or we consider whatever we're rejecting, a part of ourselves that we're rejecting, and transforming that into something that is higher vibration. And sometimes it's just removing that from the space and bringing a higher vibration to replace that. So removing anger or frustration or hatred, and bringing in joy, bringing in happiness, bringing in a
Mm.
higher vibration that is going to help support the bodies, the multidimensional bodies, have that connection with each other, raise that vibration. So there is the alchemy.
Okay, well, cool. Well, thanks for explaining that. Now, I want to kind of switch gears for just a minute. I know I was reading in your bio that you're also a podcaster. So, first, I was wondering, when you're holding your podcasting, are you providing teachings to people? Are you interviewing people? And really, kind of what inspired you to start your podcast?
Yeah, so it's actually both. I sometimes just go on there and I do a download. I'll go for a theme. So really the theme comes to me, and I'll go on there and I'll do a download on the theme, whether it's on trauma healing, whether it's on connecting to your guides, or embodying your higher self, or bringing your multidimensional bodies into oneness and wholeness. Um, and other times I interview people. I'll bring people on my show, and we'll talk about a theme, whether it's what we talked about, or abundance, prosperity, health. What inspired me to do the podcast? It's about the contribution, I believe. Like I love talking about higher consciousness. I love sharing the space of empowerment with others. I love others to be able to connect to that field of infinite possibility. I love for others to, to connect to hope, and um, to feel like there's a way forward, um, to access their full potential, and also to know that many of us go through what we go through. Yeah, we all have our story,
Yeah.
and our story, can be the fuel and the fire that really pushes us forward, but it also can be the thing that holds us back. So, to talk about what we went through and what are we going to do with it, right? How are we going to
Amen.
step into our most powerful self, our best self, and create something amazing, live the life that we want to live. Let go of, things that take away our happiness or our joy, and really reclaim that for back for ourselves, a life of fulfillment, a life of contribution. Yeah. So that's what inspired me, sharing the message, creating a space where people can connect and find, something that is going to bring them hope, something that maybe it's going to say, okay, maybe tomorrow will be a better day.
That's awesome. Now, so do you hold like just this basic philosophical, belief or approach that you take when you're working with your clients?
Um, when I work with my clients, I hold the space of, so when I work with my clients, I always see them as their full potential.
Mhm.
And when I start from that place, that sort of unravels what is not their full potential. And when we go to that place, then we get a lot of information. So the space of freedom, the space of empowerment, the space of living your greatest life, loving the life that it's meant for you. Um, and especially being your authentic self and happiness and fulfillment. When they hold that space for them, then that shows me and gives me a lot of information of why they don't have that, whether it's from this lifetime, this now, or beyond. Um, and that I feel, especially for me in the work that I do, that it accelerates the shifts, it accelerates the activations, it accelerates the clearings, it accelerates them moving into a higher beingness and a higher state of consciousness, and also being able to hold it, because we are getting to the root of what is, when we hold that space.
I have a question for you, Maria. Maria, you talk about your connection to the divine feminine and that kind of energy you also bring through. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, yes. So a part of my team that comes in are the goddesses. So Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Isis, and Hathor come in. Sometimes Kuan Yin comes in, and the and especially when it comes to wealth consciousness. Well, I mean, they come in all the time when it's needed, when the person has some agreement, is ready to work with them. uh, the energy when the divine feminine comes in, and especially with women, is about ownership, ownership of the divine goddess, ownership of the power that we hold as creative beings, the power of, expression, and the power of creation. Meaning that for a long time, we either were not allowed to own our divine feminine, we weren't allowed to sort of play in the same level field as men. So there's sort of like a struggle that we have to go through to get to. But the way they come in, it's like an erasure of all of that. When they come in, it's so beautiful. They're also different when they come in. You can sense their qualities, you can sense their power, you can sense their essence that they bring in. And what they bring is actually what they're activating, whether it's an individual or the group, for them to really embody who they are. But who they are is also what they're here to do, whether they're the work that they're here to do. So it's very beautiful and very powerful. I started working with the divine feminine when I was, I would say about 10. The first beautiful goddess that came in was Mother Mary. And then after her, it was Mary Magdalene. Then after her, it was Isis and Hathor.
Mm.
And then the last one was Kuan Yin. And I would say that part of that journey has been because they helped me heal also parts of myself, the qualities that they were bringing in as they come in, especially as they came in sort of one at a time. That there were things that I was working with them, and share memories came, from lifetimes that I shared with them, whether I was part um, of their communities, of their sisterhood, or it was some type of agreement that we had, or even there was a significant connection in my DNA with them. Um, so they come in, especially now when we're working with women and wealth consciousness, women and healing trauma, women and expressing themselves as the divine feminine. It's very
Mhm.
beautiful, forward.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful. Now, as you've been talking about, well, actually about everything, there have been comments and people are very interested, especially in the wealth consciousness. And so if they would like, you've already said that you have sessions. How can people get a hold of you? And can you talk just a little bit? Do you provide one session or are they divided up into different types of offerings?
Yes, so it's either one session, depending on what they want to work on, or it could be a series of sessions. And I offer packages as well. I also have group programs that are connected to the Wealthy Goddess, the Wealthy Codes, quantum manifestation, prosperity, and abundance. So I have different programs that help in different areas that's specifically about either manifesting or unlocking your soul wealth or unlocking your divine codes of abundance. And sometimes it depends on the individual because part of this wealth consciousness is also because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs,
Mm-hmm.
especially high level executives that are ready to go bigger, ready to create something bigger. So when I work with them, we look at what are they holding in their field? What step points do they have around them? The goals that they have, how do they align with where they are in terms of their capacity to hold them? And uh, is there anything else from the past that is still lingering, especially if we've done a lot of work already around poverty consciousness, around in holding and embodying the energy of abundance, wealth, prosperity, and so holding wealth consciousness in their fields. So we create packages for people, or I create packages for people depending on what their goal is and what they want to achieve. Um, I recently started working with somebody that they had a lot of wealth in their life, but through different situations lost a lot of it. And what they wanted to do is to restore that. So we did a lot of healing around the loss and a lot of healing around unworthiness. And we did a lot of healing around interferences with being able to hold and also their capacity. So part of the reason why they lost it is that their vibration, though in the wealth consciousness that they were holding, couldn't hold that wealth. So unconsciously they were letting it go. Plus they had other contracts connected to that, whether they were theirs or their ancestral contracts. So getting through all those layers really allow the person to step into a space, a field where they can really hold was theirs. And what we started to see is that people that owed them money started calling.
Hmm.
Checks that they didn't expect started coming in. Even investments that they thought were lost came back to them.
Nice. I'm sure people are excited about getting that money back.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of stories like that. Like, oh, I won a contest that I wasn't know was I was aware of. Even with the IRS. Oh,
Yeah.
I received more than I was expected. When does that happen? Or dealing with insurance companies, more than they expected. These are sort of organizations that are not really known for giving you more money.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah.
Alan,
Oh,
you're muted,
Alan, you're
Alan.
on mute.
I wanted to ask Maria, because she is a visionary, what does the future look like? What's your feeling and flow as you connect with the guides and consciousness for humanity?
Wow, I think there's a lot of possibility for a lot of us, especially in the state of awakening. Um, a lot of my clients, like, Sheila, you asked me earlier, what do I see now? And I see that a lot of people are more aware. And especially new generations that are coming in, they're so aware and so in tune that it feels like almost like a flush of frequency that is coming in a way, it feels like it's coming in very quickly that we're having to adjust. And that adjustment sometimes is having to purge a lot faster, having to let go of things a lot faster, having to raise our vibration a lot faster, embody higher frequencies to kind of stay in that flow of the energy. But what I see, and especially what my guys showed me, is just huge possibilities for everybody at the ascension. We're all moving in this beautiful ascension. And a lot of us are doing the work to hold the space for others to accelerate their ascension. And I see that happening. A lot of us are beacons of light that are holding the space for new frequencies to come in, especially working with the galactic beings that are grounding new frequencies into Earth, Mother Earth, Gaia. So there's this sort of what it looks like to me. It's almost like this unveiling of this new, I don't want to call it new earth or new reality, but it just feels like this new field that is opening up. And it feels like it keeps happening, like this unveiling of this newness, because we're all so focused on being and doing good in the world and bridging the gaps and connecting with our divine teams and healing ourselves and holding space for others to heal. So it just feels like this unveiling that is happening as we move forward. And also, what I see is a lot of collapsing of timelines for the collective as well as for the individuals. Like it just seems like it's a lot easier. And also because people have more awareness and they're choosing with more ease. I can see a lot of the collapsing of the timelines where people are moving faster into a new timeline of flow, a new timeline of manifestation, a new timeline of health and vitality. What I also notice is, especially when people come to me to unlock more of their gifts, whether it's their third eye, their clairvoyance, or clairsentient, or any of those clairs, that process is also a lot faster because they're in the space of receptiveness. They're in the space of, I want to, I'm ready. So there's a readiness for change. There's a readiness for the evolution of humanity. And then there's also an openness of having that connection with the divine and the beings of light that are here to support us as we move forward.
Awesome. Now, you were obviously talking about timelines, and then you mentioned the collapsing of timelines. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so when we're talking about that collapsing of timelines, so as an example, let's say that there's an event in the news, and then everybody sort of locks into that event, and there's a shift in us, right? Because we begin to participate on it. So that core event or that event is creating a timeline of doom and gloom or something happening. So as we lock into it, then there's that timeline. But what I'm noticing is that more people are unplugging from that, from what is being fed, from the negativity, from the doom and gloom, and they're stepping back and holding space of whatever they want to create. So more people want to create peace. More people are more focused in healing. More people are focused in helping others. So that's collapsing the timeline. So that timeline doesn't run the course and it just kind of fizzles out. And I see that happening over and over. And I see that in the individual basis as well. When something tragic happens in an individual, they're
Mhm.
much more resilient when they have, their connection with themselves, when they have connection with their divine team, when they're part of a community like this, when they have awareness of themselves and who they are and where they came from. There's a higher level of resilience where they immediately make that choice. I'm not going to participate, or that doesn't work for me, or I'm not going to buy into that. And that again, that timeline fizzles out. So they move from that fear, from the doubt, from the scarcity to, I'm going to live a life of empowerment. I'm going to live a life of fulfillment. And even when there's interference, when I work with people and they have attachments, where there are dark energies, discarded energies, uh, even disembodied beings or entities, because I still see interferences with reptilians and Anunnaki. Even when they have those type of interference, they have a stronger will to choose to sort of to break away. And even if they can't do it on their own, I can see that they're not being sort of taken down into the spiral of victim and victimization and the world's against me and there's no way out and losing hope.
Mm.
I can see again that they're like, I don't know what's happening, but something is not right. Can you help me? Or I can kind of see what's happening because I can hear it or I can sense it, can't put my finger on it. But I know this is not the direction I want to go. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to, lose this relationship that I'm in. So that's the timeline that they're in. So they kind of start breaking away, breaking away, breaking away. And when they move into that new timeline, then what was going to be lost is now again stayed intact. It's restored.
Mm. So when you see these, if you want to say negative influences that are in someone's field, are these like outside and they come into someone's field? Is it something that they bring in with them when they incarnate? Or is it possibly something that they're clearing because maybe they were a reptilian in a past life?
All of the above. So
Yeah.
it could be any, yeah, it definitely it could be any of those. So sometimes yes, and it's really interesting. So the approach to healing is not like, wow, that's something negative there. Let's kick it out. It's more like, okay, there's this information here in the body. This is what it's saying. So when we go back to empowerment and we go back to creation, well, we're creating everything as well. We are the individuation of source, but we also have will. So we have decided all these different things. So at some point we decided to participate in this. So when we now decide I don't want to be part of that, we are clearing an old agreement that was there. And we do it with, oh, awareness, love, acceptance, without fear, with compassion. Thank you. I am complete with that. And then we can release that and remove it, and we can send it back to source or to the universe where it came from. So when we're clearing these things, um, we look at it just as information. Oh, okay, so this is here, and I see how it's preventing you from exercising your free will or your powerful will, your divine will. I can see how it's interfering in the DNA from you manifesting what you want to manifest. So let's release it now since it's no longer working for you. So
Mm,
it's that approach. And I say negative because we have sort of high vibration, but it's really just energy that at some point we accepted or allowed into our field by whatever we wanted to learn because we wanted to learn something or we wanted to experience something. So I always say we're not victims, we're creators. So we want to remember that we're creator beings.
right, right. So let me ask this. When people are incarnating, do you find that they are coming in predominantly, let's say, as an Arcturian, as a Palladian, or are they coming in with like this cornucopia of spiritual energies that they're working through?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good question. I've seen actually both. I've seen people that are just so much like you just see them and and you feel their energy and you feel their connection with the being that maybe they last were. But then other times, um, they have sort of these different memories of who they are, and you can see it in the DNA, and it sort of shows up at different times, especially with what they're working on. I would say now is more apparent. So I would say now more people are coming in as their start seed, more start seeds, I would say, that I've
Yeah,
noticed, especially coming in and working with me, that are coming in as in a Torino. And it's very, very clear.
got it. Beautiful. I'm going to quit asking questions, Alan, and let you ask some.
If anyone in the group here has a question for Maria, that's what I
Okay,
wanted to. Does
okay,
anybody
great.
or just speak out or?
Oh, yeah, Miss Cindy. Hey, Cindy, where are you here?
Hi, Alan.
Um,
Okay, so yeah, I had definitely have questions because this is a topic of real interest to me. So let me see if I've got this correct, and maybe I don't, maybe I do. I So if you don't have wealth consciousness currently, are you saying you come in with that way? You come in that way? Or is it in your auric field? Or is it just a reality you need to get rid of and work on stepping into?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And let me just clarify that. So wealth consciousness is available to all of us actually. We come in with it. But a lot of the times as babies, we look around to our environment and we start learning. So we start forgetting, we forget who we are. And if our parents are running lack or scarcity, then we kind of gravitate to that because they're who we're learning from. They're modeling the being human. Um, but it's available to us. And coming back to wealth consciousness starts from knowing that it is a state of being within ourselves and embodying the frequency of wealth. And so it's also the awareness of wealth, how you make decisions, how you see the world. So for instance, as an example, if you're always saying, I don't have money, I don't have time, or if, let's say you don't say I don't have money, but you say I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough time. So you're still running on lack, even though you have money, or even though money is not part of your conversation. So there's a part of you that is running on lack. So you're not quite holding that wealth consciousness. So wealth consciousness is more than enough. Is an overflow, and it's also a knowing that everything is available to you. It's a knowing that everything is frequency, everything is energy. Money is energy, money is option. So it's connecting to the frequency of these other things that they are, and having them be an extension of you. So the way you make decisions, the way you react to events. So for instance, let's say that something happens in your life, um, and you were going to go on vacation, and you had this money planned for this vacation or an investment. And all of a sudden something happened and is demanding money, and you go into fear, oh, or you go into anger or frustration because you had this plan already. So how you relate to things. So the other option would be like, okay, what's going to work out? Um, I know that the answer will come to me. So you begin to trust, you begin to move into faith, you begin to move into that knowing. That is wealth consciousness. So you sort of handle the best you can that situation, but without going into fear, without going into doubt, without retracting and constricting your energy. You stay in that flow of possibility, and you allow. So usually what I say, like, oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that. I'll just let source handle it. I don't know what to do with it at the moment. So I'll just let source handle it. And then the next day there's a solution for me. Or even at the end of the day, there's a solution for me. So when you allow that to be, again that you're part of that bigger consciousness, that is source. And source is working through you. You are the conduit, you are the vessel, you are the channel of source. And wealth and prosperity moves through you and brings you, so there's that resonance, brings you the things that you desire, even the things that you didn't know you needed. But it's available to us, and we all can step into it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a lot of sense, because I've been on the verge so many times, and then the last minute something goes astray at the last minute. And yeah, it might have had a lot to do with the fear of the unknown. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and instead of going in that direction, I probably should have prayed for help.
Yeah, it's that relationship with the divine. It's a relationship with the universe. When something happens, things happen, they're not really happening to take you out. They're not really happening to take your joy or happiness away. There's something to learn from that. And a lot of times it's trust. Trust me. Just trust me. I'll handle it for you. So if
Mhm.
you remember that, and also for you to acknowledge what comes up, because if your behavior, if your pattern is to go into fear, then that's always going to be your pattern, and you're not going to be able to move from where you are. You're not going to be able to push through your set points or your limits or your ceiling of wealth. But if you recognize, okay, in this moment, usually what I do is I go into fear, I go into lack, I start worrying about everything else, I start making decisions out of desperation. If you just take a deep breath and hold on and say, okay, source, I don't know how to do this, but I'll just leave this up to you. So again, you're expanding yourself to hold the higher state of wealth consciousness. And if you can just hold it, the answers, the resources, the solutions will come to you. And then now you're breaking up that pattern of retracting, going into fear, bringing in your energy, constricting your energy. The other thing about the unknown is that the unknown is a blank space. It hasn't been created. And this is what we were talking about timelines. So it's, there's an event that happens, and then the decision, the thoughts, the actions, the behavior starts creating that timeline. So if something happens and you're afraid of the unknown, You want to shift into, well, what do I want the unknown to be? What do I want the future to be? And you start creating it. You start manifesting it. You start moving into possibility. You start opening the field of possibility, and you start kind of pulling the ingredients, and then placing you build that foundation that you want to step into, of a future that's going to support you, of a
Mm.
space that's going to support you. So think about the unknown as a blank space that it's a canvas that you're painting. And think about fear as just an indicator of a shift that you're about to do. It's not something to take you out. It's not something to hold you back. It's just an indicator of an old pattern that you had, but it's really an opportunity because it's a pivot point. When you experience fear and you go into that decision and you choose, well, I'm just going to be brave and trust, or I'm just going to stay on my path because I believe this was the path, instead of retracting and letting fear take me out. You just broke away and you just diminished the power that fear had in your life. And if you do it again and do it again, fear actually becomes your friend because it's an indicator. This, oh, this was an old pattern, or oh, this is a shift for me. This is a big opportunity for me, especially if you're doing a big stretch. If you have big goals and you experience the fear, I celebrate. Like, okay, there's going to be a big clearing happening, a big activation happening. I'm ready. Let's do it. So
Awesome.
again, it really becomes your friend.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Cindy. That was a great question.
Yeah, good
Okay,
answer.
Patty.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi.
Hi.
You have a question.
I certainly do. I'm absolutely fascinated by this. I'm glad I didn't go mowing this instead of watching this. This is great. Um, Maria, my question is, you said you started very young seeing the spirit world at age 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't happen to many. So were you a person that was actually chosen by the other side, by the spirit world?
Well, I believe that was part of what I chose when coming into this world to do this work and to coming awake. So I think at the soul level, at the original God spark, original creation, I chose to come in awake. And when I look at other lifetimes, I've done this work before. So this is sort of a continuation of the previous, especially the last couple of lifetimes that I experienced. So for some reason, it was important for me to come awake. Well, I can see the reason for the work that I do now, holding space and bringing in higher frequencies. So it was part of the choice that I made, which was also the karma that I decided to take on. Um, and even though like very young, I had these gifts. I also saw a lot of darkness, by the way. It wasn't always easy. But having my guides with me, I knew that everything was going to be fine. I always knew that I was safe. So I had a sense of knowing because they were there, and I had a sense of feeling protected. And just it was just sort of an adventure because they showed me so many different things. They took me to so many different places, and they trained me in so many different ways. So I think in that, and a lot of things came sort of natural, meaning that there was a memory already. So exploring my previous lifetimes, I realized that this wasn't really new to me. This wasn't my first lifetime. That it was really a continuation of many of my other lifetimes.
Okay, so what's the chance of cloning you? We need a lot more like you around the place.
That's great. Thank you, Patty. That's
Not a
awesome.
problem. Love. Thanks a lot. Brilliant.
Okay, let's see. Solar Rays, you're next, but I want to take this question. It says, I have a lot of wealth that comes to me in an ebb and a flow, but I just can't seem to hold on to it. Can you tell me what's going on?
Yes. So there's a karmic contract that you have, and it's actually located around the power center and sacral area that acts sort of like an pulse, and it kind of comes in. It's actually at the reservoir, but as it comes in, it doesn't actually come all the way in. It just kind of comes in, hits it, and goes back out. Um, and the contract is about yeah. So something that happened in another lifetime that now is showing up sort of as punishments or self-sabotage. So resolving that other lifetime will help you release and be able to really ground all the money that is coming in. The other thing that I see is that your feet, especially connected to money, are not fully connected to the earth. So, I can see your full body from the midsection up, and then from the about the belly button down, it looks like you're dangling. So you're not fully grounding also your prosperity, your abundance. So your money is just coming in and going out. Um, and the other picture that you're showing me is sort of swimming, like you're swimming and you're trying to catch it, and the water is moving it away. So again, the money being evasive, not being able to land, not being able to fully receive. So there's also a worthiness aspect of it in this lifetime.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, solar rays.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thank you for a lovely presentation. I have a question that I've been thinking about for a long time, and maybe you can clarify something for me. We are always kind of reminded that we create our own reality every moment, depending on where our energy frequency and vibration is. We're creating each moment and the next moment and the next moment. So if we are creating our moments as we exist, how does timelines, past lives, where does that fit in, and how does that work? Thank you.
That's a really good question. So in reality, there is no time, right? They're all happening at the same time. So there's different aspects of you that are existing. Um, so when we talk about creating your reality, we're really talking about right now, right in the now, in this moment, and what's in front of you. But in reality, there's aspects of you existing in different timelines and different dimensions. And many times they're either influencing or they are playing out something else related to what you're currently working on. So because they're happening at the same time, and this is also what we're talking about, collapsing timelines, when you make a different decision, that decision is creating different frequency, a different vibration. So let's say that you work in this frequency and you just made a different decision, and then you took action with it. So now you're in this frequency. So everything that was aligned with this just kind of, again, sort of fizzles out. And now you're in this sort of timeline. Again, but everything's happening at the same time. So we like to describe it as timelines because sometimes it's easier to see, and it's easier to sort of see that how that's moving. And then now you're here. And now let's say that you want to create something else, and you make that decision. And there are things that are opposing that, and you do your healing. So as you do your healing, again, those timelines kind of fizzle out that were affecting you. And then now you're now holding a different frequency. So it's all the frequency that you keep moving into that keeps up leveling you, and that then creates the new, creates the new, creates the new. Does that help?
Then how does, say, if somebody had a past life as an Arcturian, and say this person is also working on manifesting wealth, but like you described, if we're moving up a level when you're engaging higher frequency, then that Arcturian lifestyle or that lifetime wouldn't matter, does it? Because we're not taking. How does that? Because it's not a chronology. Yeah. It's just too. Yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Yeah. So if we look at it this way, let's say that you're aware that you have an Arcturian connection or a previous lifetime that is happening at the same time, and you want to activate that wisdom from that aspect of yourself. So you want to integrate. So when I work with somebody, that's really a different process. We connect to that aspect of yourself and we integrate that aspect of yourself. So it's kind of bringing all the parts into wholeness, right? Kind of retrieving the parts of you and coming into that wholeness. and then activating, unlocking that wisdom that that part of you holds within the self. So that's what. And if part of that integration is for you to manifest, so then now that we unlock the wisdom, we use that wisdom to manifest what you want, create in this reality. So let's say that the part of the aspect of you that is Actuarian brought in different codes. Let's say that you're a healer, brought in different codes, and now you're to express these codes, and that's part of the wealth manifestation. So this wealth may attract more clients to you, or they may attract more wealth, prosperity, and now the manifesting is, the expression. So you're now expressing what you activated, integrated into your field, and manifested here and now.
Mm.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you can access the information from all the aspects of you. So when they say opening up timelines, well, we're just really kind of looking at everything that's happening around you. So if you can imagine yourself in the center and all these little spokes that are happening, we can explore all of them and see like if there's information that we can integrate that's going to help you. But a lot of times, especially when I work with people, they'll just highlight the ones that are important, and then those are the ones that we work with. But again, we've learned this construct of time. That's why we say past or the present or previous lifetimes or incarnations. But in reality, you can access that because that's part of your collective consciousness that's already in your field. It's already part of who you are, and it's available. And especially if you're ready, you can access it, whether it's connecting to that being of light or going into the Akash and integrating it there.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great. Absolutely. So, can you share with people one more time how they can reach out and get a hold of you?
Yes. So you can connect with me at 360 Prosperity. That's my website. If you want to send me a message, you can email me at Maria at accelerated, EXCELLERATED abundance, acceleratedabundance.com. And happy to do a discovery session with you to see what's next for you, whether it's in the area of money, in the area of prosperity, health, or your human potential, which I like to call divine potential.
Yes, thank you, Maria, for being here. Sheila, we have to have her to a conference or an online conference because she
Absolutely.
Thank you.
discussion. So
It's my pleasure.
yes, what were you
It's
saying?
my absolute pleasure. I said it's my absolute pleasure. It was so nice to be in this space with both of you and be in the space of all of you in this powerful community of enlightened beings. Thank
Oh,
you.
awesome. Now, before I move to Alan, for any, final comments, I was wondering, do you have anything else that you want to share that maybe we didn't hit upon?
Let's see. Anything else?
Final comments.
Yeah. The final comments, it's so for me, like the work that brings me the greatest joy is the returning to self, right? So the returning to self is the ultimate you, and that is the discovery also of who you are and who you've been. So who you are is really all that is, all those books that I talked about, all those many timelines and lifetimes that we described, and reconnecting with that part of you and activating that potential within yourself and aligning with what you're here to do, which is your mission, your purpose, and contributing to the world in a way that brings you joy, in the way that does good in the world, and in the way that fulfills you and brings you prosperity. So that is my greatest wish for everybody, to live that fulfilled life, a life that you love living. Thank you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Alan, how about you? You have any final comments for tonight?
Well, I think it's great. We're getting new faces into the cosmic conversation. Next week, Greta Chamberlain, who's also working with Arcturian energies. Do you know her, Sheila, Greta?
I don't. No, I'm excited to meet her.
Really gonna like her. And I keep running across people that are doing great work, like Maria, that just, and there's people waiting to hear from her. So I'm a talent scout out there in the cosmos. bringing people to the people who need that. So, and the community that is growing thanks to everything you and me and Neil and everybody are doing. We're expanding this community to see this whole new reality unfolding. So thank you. Thank you. One more thing. I am hosting Bruce Lipton in New York City, August 3rd. I could put that if anyone's in the area, maybe not, but he's going to do a 6-hour intensive on science and spirituality. So, yes, just a live thing. So you can email me if you're in the area in August. I know it's a little ahead, but this is my email. Also, you can get my book on Amazon, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, newrealities.com, youtube.com/newrealities. So Sheila, it's always great to work with you, and I'm glad you're still doing this. It's been what, like 5 or 6 years you're doing these conversations?
Yeah, I think 5 years now. So it's and maybe 6. I don't know. Time flies when you're having fun. So I don't know. But it's awesome. We're doing this, Monday nights and on Thursday nights, and Monday, of course, I have a co-host. So, I want to again thank you, Alan, for your contribution and for helping me. And Maria, I want to thank you for being here. And so everyone, you have been listening to Maria Martinez with my co-host, Alan Steinfeld. I want to thank you so much for being here, regardless of the platform that you're watching or listening to us on. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have not already signed up to be on our mailing list, please visit the consciousawakeningnetwork.org. Reach out. Let us know if you're a speaker and you're looking for a platform, reach out. We would be happy to talk with you. And so I guess everybody, until we are, oh yes, Susie, I saw your hand. Thank you. I was just about to wrap up. So before we go, Susie has an incredible song for us.
Yeah, we do. I wrote this quite a while ago. We shake the mountains, we awake the trees, we proclaim the end of futility. We tie negativity up in chains, we proclaim the star seeds of freedom we reign. We've got that vision in our hearts, we're the possessors of the brand new start. We kick down the doors, they've been closed too long. The family of star seeds are moving on. Oh, the dreams we've dreamed have finally begun. So we fight that fight with endurance we run. We have come forth in such purity, with hearts of compassion and eyes to see. Yes, we've got that vision in our hearts. We're the possessors of the brand new start. We kick down the doors, they've been closed too long. This family of star seeds are moving on. The family of star seeds are moving on.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Love you all.
Always good to hear your voice.
Right. We always
Thank
love
you.
having Susie on, but I have to tell you, with this new update, if your camera is not on, you just totally disappear from my screen. So I thought maybe you had just disappeared. So thank you for reappearing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, thank you to everyone for joining us. It's always exciting to have you here. So please join us on Mondays and Thursdays right here on Cosmic Conversations. So until we're all back together again next time, much love, everybody, and namaste. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye.